Today is here. Sonic 3, the movie came out, and you know what that means. That's right. It's time to my try hard campaign to getting rid of all those pesky humans that plague the Sonic movies. And of course, please try to spread the word. There's the movie came out, but there's still time to finally get rid of James Marsden and his stupid rom-com family, in which, well, yes, I'm still into that, and I'm gonna keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until the end of days, or at least until the whole thing gets worldwide. I know that sounds childish, but believe me that I started this campaign ever since my disappointment of the second movie in a way, and then it got worse when I saw the Knuckles series. God, that series sucked a lot, and so unlike many people, because of those reasons, this is why, despite me being a guy who really liked the Sonic games, and I mean, look at this. I went to the Symphony this year, and wearing this because I am proud to like Sonic. But I'm not the kind of guy who, go head over heels and say that the movies were great. I kind of found the first one at least passable now on hindsight. And then the second movie, it got, while I can't say that it's a terrible movie, it was worse, and I mean, the terrible things that happen is mostly because the human aspect of the Sonic movies, especially the James Marsden and all his rom-com family, they suck. They are terrible character. If you kind of just sit and think that you just think he's not a good character. He's awful. And it all cemented, especially when we had Wade, who somehow we found a way who made James Marsden look worse. And here's the thing, is that there's something that kind of sucks on this, and you can tell that apparently they were in the wrong direction. They felt like they wanted to care about the Sonic property, but they didn't care enough, and they wanted to shoehorn in these terrible characters. And on hindsight, it's kind of making me give a little bit more respect to the human characters of Sonic X, which is a scary thought, because the Sonic X characters, all of them kind of sucks too. But now that I think, after that, the movie human characters are worse than the Sonic X characters. How's that possible? So this is why I started this campaign, and because of that, and because of how much I dreaded Knuckles to the point that I had to make a vlog and me ranting about it, this is the reason why I wasn't exactly very optimistic on Sonic 3. I wasn't. Unlike many people who were kind of like very optimistic, and even the marketing was out of control. It was, I mean, they kind of come up with Christmas theme here and there, but in my head it was like, no, don't get too optimistic, because there's still because the Sonic things are really they have the good potential, but everything is going down because of all of the James Marsden stuff. So I was still pushing it, and this is me, and like I said, this is me being a victim of the dreadfulness of the Knuckles series. And the biggest reason also I kind of did trying to make a campaign out of it is because people still don't get it. They still don't get it, and they're not vocal enough to show all these Hollywood people that well, it is fine, but what is the need of putting all this rom-com media garbage into the Sonic thing? and which this is kind of a little bit kind of make me a little bit bittersweet because for Sonic things I was actually really anticipating Shadow, this is kind of like the biggest thing that the movie was promoting. Sonic 3 it was promoting Shadow, which ever since he came out into the video game world, he really caused an impact to the Sonic world, and he became a fan favorite. My cousin Sue and myself included. I really like Shadow. He's actually one of my favorite characters. Of course, that I do love other characters that from the Sonic universe, even from the ones that we kind of disappear. Rest in peace, Archie Comics. And things got a little bit worse when, remember that I said about it when I went to see Moana 2, and they show kind of like the latest Sonic trailer, and I was very angry at that trailer because that trailer kind of showcases some of the worst things about the movie. It showcased the really cringy dialogue, and it spoiled the movie a little bit too much. So thank goodness that after going to other movies, they didn't show that awful trailer so much. But I was kind of like a very, 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 very worried. So, and even when they showcased the promotional Christmas thing, I wasn't very keen, mostly because of the animation. And I was like, you know what? This thing needs something, and I just put the hashtag get rid of James Marsden campaign that I'm alone into this. I don't care if I'm laughed at, but but as long as this movie has a breath of wanting to make more movies out of it, I'm gonna still keep pushing that. Please get rid of James Marsden and his awful rom-com club. But lo and behold, I decided to finally got to see it and get it over with. And let me tell you, it's a better experience than Mufasa. So honestly, it's almost like taking the blue pill and the red pill in this case, in which this week you have to either suffer through Sonic 3 or suffer through Mufasa. And honestly, there is no comparison. You better pick the best poison, which is of course the Sonic 3 movie, because Mufasa actually is a movie that doesn't deserve your money considering what Disney is doing and what is coming next year. So this is why I have kind of like lower expectation, and in a way, I saw an IGN giving it a 3 stars out of 5. I don't trust the site, but I kind of wanted this movie a little bit to have a little bit of a failure because I just wanted to show them kind of like the big consequences of overhyping a movie. Sometimes you don't need to overhype a movie because it will bring your expectations very high, and you're not gonna get ready for disappointment. It doesn't showcase kind of like this big bombastic and all this stuff. But lo and behold, I saw it, and as much as you see me complain right now, I gotta admit that movie was okay. It's okay. And you know what? The movie is actually a little bit better compared to Sonic 2. No, really. That movie actually does things a little bit more right compared to Sonic 2. And the biggest reason is because they restricted a little bit more of the James Marsden stuff. This time they did concentrate better on the aspects of the world of Sonic. But that's not saying much because you can still that they still want to clinch on their biggest mistakes, which is James Marsden and his stuff. And the obscurity of a character that is still a MacGuffin and is still not addressed. So honestly, I'd rather get rid of the James Marsden stuff and go to that other character, which I'll get to it. So, okay. I'll go with it right now. So Sonic 3, it takes some elements of the Sonic Adventure 2, which is still one of the fan favorites of the Sonic games. Because Sonic Adventure 2 basically has the elements of that we get to see some of the expanded family of Robotnik. Sonic 2 mostly centered on Gerald Robotnik and his creation, the research project of Robotnik's grandfather, Gerald Robotnik. But most important of all, one part of the project is none other than Shadow the Hedgehog, the self-proclaimed ultimate life form. Yeah. I'm trying my best to not spoil too much of Sonic Adventure 2 for people that didn't play it, but these are most of the things that are taken from to adapt into the movie, and I get it. And one thing I'm kind of glad that they don't adapt it, letter by letter. The games. It might have looked cool in a way, and it can take some creative liberties that I give it kind of like, how can I say? I give it big props out of it. So in the movie at least, what shows into the movie is that Shadow the Hedgehog has been awakened after slumbering for 50 years, and he's angry and he's looking revenge against Gun. Gun is I always forget what was it? Government. It's the economy, but it's a secret organization. It's a military organization. Basically, Shadow wants up revenge on Gun because they are responsible for the death of a very beloved friend, his friend Maria, and so now he's trying to. He's been led to pick up the pieces for his revenge against Gun, and of course he stumbles, with our heroes, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and basically that's kind of like the gist of the movie. And like I said, I'm not trying to spoil too much, but from what you see from the trailer is that we got Sonic, Tails, Knuckles. They find out about Shadow. They get their missions from. They get the mission from the old man from Gun. They're what else? Okay, I'm a little bit trying to put the pieces together on my head. But basically, they're finding ways to stop Shadow from doing all these destructive things, and at the meantime, they also have to protect kind of like this weapon that he's searching for, which is capable of destroying the Earth. And of course, they also get help. They have to get help from a very unlikely ally who is none other than Dr. Robotnik. The biggest enemy of them. This is basically a synopsis on a nutshell, and I gotta say that I like the pacing that this movie goes for. It has enough things of Sonic that it makes the scene a little bit more enjoyable as it is. And this is kind of like I will say that it's the enjoyable part. It gets enjoyable when it's about the Sonic characters. But apparently this movie also has a little bit of this Godzilla syndrome, in which whenever they cut to the movie original characters, the Marston, his wife, and other characters, and of course including this really bland guy, Agent Stone, from the guy who is very head over heels over Robotnik and all this stuff. These are kind of like the worst aspects of the movie. And this is where it brings down the movie really, really bad. Luckily, like I said, most of those things, they were toned down compared to the last one. But still, that presence is kind of like a splinter that it's stuck in there, inside, that no matter how much you want to try to ignore it, it stinks. It really, really stinks. it stinks so bad that you can tell that they're potentially they ruin this movie's big potential. Because they want, this is where I did kind of say that sometimes when you act living beings acting like cartoons, it doesn't work. It feels awkward, awkward in any sense. So I'll get into more detail into that, but I will talk about more. I'll concentrate first on the characters that are related to Sonic. Like, for example, let's start out with Sonic, in which I know that this incarnation, they wanted him to make him a little, how can I say, a little bit kind of having this youthful energy, a little bit too cocky. But I will say this, that I have a little bit of bad news. Is that Ben Schwartz is getting little by little on my nerves. And I don't fault him exactly, and I don't fault him exactly even with the Sonic character. Is that and how he plays it? I mean, the voice is fine, but sometimes he really does really cringy dialogues. I'll say they gave him kind of some material that is kind of like cringy, and luckily most of them they're kind of like in the trailer, and sometimes he gets a little bit abusive with the pop culture references. Like, for example, there's this cringy line that you see in the trailer, and when he go like "Konnichiwa," that is an awful delivery, and even the timing was awful. But you know what? Now that I think about it, I think I know who is the biggest culprit of me getting a little bit irritated with Ben Schwartz, and that is Dewey from DuckTales, the new DuckTales. Maybe it's the character that kind of didn't hit me or something like that, but this is a little bit kind of becoming a little bit of a warning sign that Ben Schwartz is getting a little bit too cocky and so full with the character and how they use it. So honestly, it's more than a red flag. It's more kind of like a yellow flag. But other than that, I still like the Sonic character. Although I think that the Sonic character in the, how can I say, in the games, he's more tolerable, especially since this year I managed to play Sonic Frontiers and Sonic Forces, and I like the portrayal of Sonic there better. Although, yeah, sometimes he comes up with some lines that is kind of like a wink, kind of like in the camera, especially when they force the line from Sonic Adventure 2, the one that he said, talk about low budget flight, no food or movies, I'm out of here. So that kind of delivery was kind of like more for the fans and all this stuff. Colleen as Tails, she's basically the original. She's the one who is voicing the current Tails from the video games, and she really does well. Although, is it me or her tone is a little bit different from the games and in this movie? Although maybe it's something like that, but honestly, I did like it. I just still kind of wish that Tails was used a little bit more in the second movie. And this is why I did say that maybe they should have hold on Knuckles for the third movie and just concentrate on building Sonic and Tails' friendship. Thanks, James Marston. Yeah, so she was fine, and also let's not forget that Idris Elba as Knuckles. He really works well, and admittedly, I know that he was also well on his own series, but let's not forget that he was shoehorned. He was more kind of like an afterthought for this freaking wait series. Sorry, and they were doing fine. I gotta admit that they used their talents a little bit better compared to the second one. And of course, let's talk about Shadow. Shadow, they kind of pick up the the perfect casting in this case. They decided to use Keanu Reeves for him. And they built him they did a nice build. It's still faithful to the lore of the game, and his personality is, of course, what you expect. The brooding edgelord looking for revenge, just like the second game, until he becomes kind of like the Sonic's biggest rival. So. And there's some things that I did work. And honestly, Keanu Reeves did a good job. I think he ironically is considering that the typecasting that Keanu Reeves does, he was perfect for Shadow. But here is a little bit of the offside. His delivery, it sometimes comes off a little bit dry. It's not terrible. It fits kind of like the character, but there are some moments that it does feel like it comes kind of dry. But this is a little bit of a nitpick, I'll say. But yeah, that's basically what they build, how they build. And now, of course, then we got the other characters, like, of course, Dr. Robotnik. You know that he's played by Jim Carrey, and just like the previous movies, it comes kind of like weird that Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is probably the best part of the movie, because I will say that it's because you can tell that Jim Carrey, he is having fun. He is having a lot of fun with the role, and it shows. And it shows. And the funny thing is that the first movie he didn't look like Dr. Robotnik. Then the second movie they got his look a little bit more right to the games. And now he got a little bit of the fat in the third movie. So each time he progressively is turning into the Robotnik that we see on the video games. And yeah, his delivery is still kind of a little bit clownish. And they wanted to give him a little bit more kind of like in depth in this one. But yeah, Jim Carrey is having fun with this. But not only Jim Carrey plays one character, he plays two. He's playing another Robotnik, which is none other than Gerald Robotnik, his grandfather, in which they kind of have a little bit of a tweak and retcon compared to the games on how he is, because in the first place, Gerald Robotnik is dead in the games. Of course, he has a major role, but he's dead, and Robotnik has an admiration to him. In this one, he's alive. He's alive, and well, he's still kind of crazy, let's say, and honestly, well, there is a little bit of difference on that. I kind of wish that they could have fleshed out Gerald so he could not be kind of like a very older Robotnik, kind of like a doppelganger. Although he does his role, yeah, but maybe it could have worked better if his personality is not exactly kind of like another Jim Carrey. That's kind of like a nitpick that I have. Oh, and of course, even in the flashback scenes, we of course got Maria. Maria is basically the girl who Shadow befriends in the past, and she basically is the one, kind of like the one that brings some humanity to Shadow. In the portrayal of Maria in this one, I think she's good for what it is. It had enough things to showcase that she's special to him. But if I have to go a little bit nitpicky, and maybe it's just me, is that maybe if they have chosen kind of like a more younger girl to cast Maria, because seeing her like a teenager, she more kind of looked like a Disney Channel that she came out from a Disney Channel sitcom. But maybe it's just me. I haven't seen so many teenagers at this day and age, and to kind of see how they look structure and all this stuff. I think that they could have made her a little bit more innocent, pretty much I kind of in a way I kind of wish that she was a little bit more vulnerable. Because I think the appeal of Maria in the game is that even when she was alive, she really looked like a very vulnerable character. But this one, she doesn't feel that vulnerable. But luckily, they have a good actress and good things for her. And well, that's pretty much the good characters. Let me talk about the horrible character, which of course is the Wachowskis, or of course the James Marsden. James Marsden and his wife characters. This movie, I can tell that these guys, I can see probably the reason why these two irritates me, because I will say this at least this movie make the correct decision of not making James Marsden turn into a Chris Thorndike, because that was what I was actually afraid of. Because what Chris Thorndike did in Sonic X that is kind of like unforgivable is that he stole Amy's thunder when you have it's the one that's saying that, well, there are not too many nice people, but there's some beautiful things there, and it's the one that persuades Shadow to change his heart. Luckily, we don't have James Marsden kind of do that and give him something like that, and that could have ruined it. But there's still kind of like the stink of it, because James Marsden, he really showcased that he's kind of forced in to be kind of like a parent figure of Sonic. They still kind of comes abusive that he's the donut guy, to the point that he's wearing a donut sweater. And even that movie starts with a donut joke, which honestly, this movie is a step away from turning to the Power Rangers movie, in which the whole movie was a whole hour-long Krispy Kreme commercial. Yeah, I will not be surprised if next week we're gonna get a Krispy Kreme Sonic the Hedgehog commercial. But here's the thing. These two, here's the reason why James Marsden and the woman who portrays his wife irritates me, especially in this movie, because these two are really overly nice. They act so overly nice that, again, they act like these rom-coms that it really ruins the flow. And you know what? The movie really proved that once they are out of the picture, the movie gets better. The movie becomes a lot better without them. And then, and the half point of the movie, they are forced into the movie, and this is where the movie collapses. It collapses just because James Marsden and his rom-com appears. And I was almost having a breath of fresh air that, okay, let's see where this movie goes. And then Medea appears. You know, the big fat black woman who is kind of like the who acts like she's on a Tyler Perry movie. God, she's so loud, and you can tell that she's the worst. And her delivery, the way she acts, and all this stuff, she is the worst. And I'm not gonna go too much into details, but it kind of shows the hypocrisy of people, calling out these kind of portrayals. But honestly, well, let's say that she kind of appears, let's say, but is still there. I have to apologize if you can see a little bit of an abrupt cut here during the vlog. Is that I gotta say that while I was filming, the storage on the iPhone ran out, so so I had to go to my computer, empty all the files that I needed, because I remember that I was doing some other recordings with the phone, and then I ran out, and now I made some space, and so I'm here still continuing on to talk about Sonic 3. So where was I? Oh yeah, I was talking about my disdain that even though we got a brief period of seeing Medea, and how much of I have kind of like a big distaste to that, and kind of proving that the whole James Marsden stuff and cast is they're basically the worst things about this movie. And this is where I kind of have more kind of like a very cautious open eye on it. The movie also tries to us have some kind of mixed feelings with the old general from Gun, and something happens to him that I'm not gonna go too much into detail. But then we also have kind of like this agent of this kind of like elite agent of Gun, who is kind of like this woman who you can tell by her face that something about her kind of makes me want to punch her, and it's mostly because I think it's because she really looks like that stupid sister from the Knuckles series, and she's just there. She's just there to so that Gerald Robotnik kind of comes up with a really 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 ouch kind of joke that it technically didn't age well. Oh, and speaking of which. He's here. The greatest warrior is here. Wade appears in this movie. The moment he appears, I remember that I couldn't control myself, and I gave out a big, loud frick! I managed to control myself so the big F word didn't come out of my mouth, but I did give a big loud frick, and the theater heard me. I couldn't control myself. I shouldn't have done that, but that's the amount of hatred I had with Wade and his shit stains ever since that Knuckles series. Thankfully, he's only in the movie for about 20 seconds in it. But that and he's still stupid as ever. And it kind of makes the whole thing more baffling. This is like I said. The James Marsden thing are the worst things. And here is the biggest reason why I still hate the James Marsden cast. And that is that people kind of forget that because of them, it overshadows the character that we are really, really wanting to know more ever since all those 3 movies. And that is Longclaw. We want to know more about Longclaw, and we never get it. We never so far that we never see Longclaw physically in this movie. She's just mentioned here and there, and honestly, she is so unimportant to this series, and they want to put importance to this series that she's treated so horribly that she's basically a MacGuffin. She is a MacGuffin, that's a living MacGuffin. She is no important than just to give exposition on where Sonic comes from. Nothing more, nothing less. this is the thing, and this is where I don't like much about the Sonic movies, because we want to have expansion of, we want to know expanded about the Sonic's world, the world where he comes from, the other things. But they shoehorn, the real world and all this stuff. This kind of diminishes the enchantment of the Sonic franchise, at least on the movie side, because you should portray something. It's there. And honestly, I think this is also they should make kind of like the perfect opportunity to get rid of James Marsden, and then how can I say, not exactly kind of getting rid of all the human characters, but at least have Sonic engage with other characters, with other characters, make him find other family that he can connect with and befriend, or other children or people that he could say, hey, I'm here to help you, or something like that. Expand the world, and don't keep with that, how can I say, this really kind of like rom-com family that is just that the more it stays there, it overstays and overshadows Longclaw. And to add insult to injury, I think there's a Sonic smartphone game that they promote. Hey, here's Longclaw. The character that we know shit is there. So honestly, more than hashtag get rid of James Marsden, I gotta follow another friend's suggestion, and he said, you know what? Let's make hashtag justice for Longclaw. You know what? Let's put it there. Justice for Longclaw. Let's have 2 hashtags in it. Still, get rid of James Marsden, because the James Marsden stuff sucks. But everything else is fine. It is still fine. Which, this also brings me a little bit to, the cinematography, in which, yeah, it's exciting. It has the beats of action video game thing. Although, yeah, because of the whole curse of the video game movie, we could agree that on hindsight, the Sonic movies is probably better than what most kind of do, but still, you have to kind of pick on some criticism here and there, because, apparently it's getting a little bit tiring that we always compare, saying that, hey, that this Sonic that what we're seeing is a huge improvement compared to the ugly Sonic and all this stuff. Yeah, we know the existence of this ugly Sonic, and you don't have to shoehorn in. And I think this is the reason why this movie is getting a little bit full on itself, by saying that, hey, we did improve from this to this, and you know what? This is not saying much, because I begin to notice some flaws. I mean, that kind of, you can tell you can even begin to tell if you have a keen eye, how much the CGI kind of doesn't blend in with the real world. This is a very, very common thing that has happened when you kind of want to blend in live action with digital CGI, digital characters, and you have a little bit of a budget, let's say. Although I think that this Sonic movie now doesn't have the excuse to say that it's a low budget, because this time, because of the success, now it has kind of like a bigger budget, and of course you have Paramount and all these things. So in a way, no, you have no excuse this time. I'm saying that I'm not exactly a fly on a sapper in which they say that, hey, I love this movie because it looks great, it looks pretty pictures and all this stuff. So technically that it is, and the movie has kind of like its fair share, of course, of fan service, because that's what it attracts a lot of people when it's about video game movie. It's the fan service. The movie is basically kind of like the fans. It kind of like this. It has although there's some moments in which it is abusive in some movies. Thankfully, this movie doesn't too much. It kind of shows some restraint. Also, sometimes you go with the, okay, I know where you kind of wink at the camera. I mean, I already told you about the execution about the low budget flight joke. Of course, they also had to go with in Japan where they go to this place called the Chow Garden. Yeah, the Chow Garden, where they show people, with dress up in Chow in a kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese's knockoff, and of course comes on this very cringy moment in which Japanese children come seemingly speaking in English, and they confuse Tails with Detective Pikachu, and of course they drag the joke with Knuckles going like Pika 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 Pika. Yeah, you saw that on that awful trailer. What else? What else they did? Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it has to be announced, and you probably noted, and I will say this: yes, they have live and learn there. They have the epitome of well, not I wouldn't say epitome. It sounds a little bit mean spirited. It has one of the best songs of the Sonic franchise, which is of course "Live and Learn," and I'm one of them. I still love "Live and Learn." Although you're gonna hear the other songs from the franchise. There's some great ones, and there's some great ones. I mean, I still love the Sonic Heroes theme. What I'm Made Of. That one is also great. Sonic Frontiers also gave me a new favorite, like Breaks Through It All and Undefeatable. I love those. Sonic Forces also have some great ones like Fist Bump. Oh yeah, Night of the Wind is also really really good. Okay, but I'm fanboying here and there. So, but with again that kind of a little bit brings me a little bit that the humor is a little bit kind of like hit or miss. I'll say. Oh, you know what? Now that I think about it. It's funny that I was complaining about forgetting Longclaw, and I was actually forgetting about they wanted to make this very lame subplot with Agent Stone. And you see how much I don't like this guy because he's kind of forgettable, and his demeanor is that they wanted to he's just there, and he's so bland. This guy is so bland that he's no Snively. Snivelly from the Sonic Sat AM, I think he was kind of like a better assistant minion than Agent Stone, because I find him very forgettable and bland. I don't know why people kind of like him. He just blends in with any how can I say with anything else, and he doesn't make kind of like an impact. Okay, I was going a little bit, how can I say, I did mention that some of the jokes hint they land here or not. Sometimes Sonic kind of like pop culture-ish kind of spiel gets a little bit, how can I say, let's say in a warning zone that it might get a little bit tiring. This is although maybe it's me trying to find some tolerance into it, and now that I remember, maybe this will technically just comes off as how could I say considering the background of Sonic, now that I think about it, at least for the movie's sake. But another thing that I think that this movie kind of diminishes a little bit on the script is that they wanted to shoehorn in some lessons that the way they wanted to show the dialogue, the exposition, all this stuff is like it really sounds like Saturday morning Care Bear-ish kind of spiel. Sometimes they see something, and instead of being quiet and let the audience put the pieces. They just have to state the obvious, or sometimes they kind of state the obvious. For example, they wanted to go with this Care Bear logic, like for example saying that, hey Sonic, Shadow is not exactly like you because, well, he's lonely. He's lonely, unlike you who has friends and all this stuff. He didn't have nothing and all this stuff. I've seen this song and dance so many times, and this is something that they should have said it. I thought, yeah, we know Sonic and Shadow are polar opposites. One of them goes with to their friends, and others don't. And this is kind of like the big reason why, despite Sonic Heroes, as far as my experiences, is a decent game. The script on Sonic Heroes didn't age well because it kind of shoehorned in by saying the power of teamwork, the power of love, or sometimes the power of family and all this stuff. This is kind of like the same song and dance that many family-friendly cartoons or movies, they always try to shoehorn in, and sometimes they tell you in your face instead of, well, just show it or something like that. And in a way, I kind of get it. It's not kind of like the worst I have seen, although it kind of makes me really question because a little bit going a little bit on the spoilerish part, but not by much. The James Marsden guy gets injured, but he gets injured in the most pathetic way that you kind of don't believe about how it happened, because honestly, it just kind of like it. I don't buy what James Marsden goes through. It kind of went into the most pathetic way. Okay, to give it a little bit of a heads up, let's say that it's a moment in which you get a head injury that many could survive in that universe, and then somehow end up with a cast on the arm, and he gets hospitalized. It's not something that big that maybe they went a little bit kind of like back down or something like that, and boy, they really missed the opportunity to kill him off. Look, okay, look. It's not exactly that I hate James Marsden. I don't hate him. I don't like mostly the way they're using him, kind of like a crutch, a crutch for that. And again, he has this whole stigma of him and Hop. So honestly, yeah, I think that it's time to retire. We should not retire Jim Carrey. You know what? Here's the funny thing. Jim Carrey, after the second movie, he's like, I'm gonna retire. And you know what? He's back. Apparently, he says that he needed the money. He needed the money. That's the reason why he came back. So yeah, after that, I don't want to talk spoilers, but I will say this. There will be a Sonic 4 because of the cliffhanger, the mid-credit scenes. The mid-credit scenes has a cliffhanger, and yes, we get showcased more characters of the Sonic universe. But I will do you a favor, and I'm not gonna reveal who are these characters. But because of that, this is why the hashtag get rid of James Marsden will still kick in. So that kind of gave me the excuse to continuing to still campaign for the movies to find a way to get rid of him, because we don't need that rom-com shit. But overall, as much as you see me complain about the movie, that doesn't mean that I hated it. At least I was, because this movie has a little bit more restraint on James Marsden and his BS. This is where I can safely say that I like this movie a little bit better compared to Sonic 2, and I know that there's a lot of people who are overhyping this movie and saying that, wow, it's the greatest video game movie ever and all this stuff. I'm not that kind of guy. I never like to overhype things, and this movie doesn't deserve to be overhyped because it still has flaws that people are blind to it because they are very they're very blind to the Sonic fandom for the things that they please it. But a guy like me, especially at my age, I try to look at it into different lenses, and I can see that it's not exactly a great movie. It was just good for what it is. But I do have to say, chill, chill. It's it chill. There is not. This movie is, well, it just it just do a little bit better compared to the other. So, but if you like it, it's fine. It's okay. But I still gonna keep on pushing that James Marsden and his rom-com club is a big mistake. So Sonic in this case doesn't need James Marsden anymore. I prefer to see more of the Sonic world instead of the James Marsden world. And well, we got Shadow, which is a crowd pleaser at best. And I am thankful that I had a good audience that didn't go something like that. That's pretty much all I have to say about Sonic 3. Now that I think about it, I will say one thing that the movie kind of lacks. With that said, Chaos Control.